What I remember when you came was the moment you looked, because I asked you not to really look at the chart until you got on the air, and then you looked at it and you went, "Oh my God," and I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, oh my God?" And you said, "You're a Leo," and I said, "I know I'm a Leo, Rachel, for goodness sakes." And you said, "No, you're a Leo in 5 or 6 planets."
Mm-hmm.
So tell me again what that means, because to catch people up who weren't at that show.
Yes. So for those who don't know astrology, when your natal chart really maps out where all the planets were at the time of your birth. And so different planets can be in different signs. And usually, the sun sign, usually planets are different planets can be in different signs than our sun sign, except for Mercury and Venus, which tend to stay pretty close to the sun. But yeah, you have Mercury, the moon. You're actually born just a few hours before the Leo new moon. Did you know that? Oh, did you hear me? So you have the Mercury, the moon, the sun, Uranus, and the North Node, which is a destiny point, all right there in the sign of Leo. So that's a lot of Leo influence. And what that means is that you were born to shine. Do we have a technical glitch?
No, I am here. We do have a technical glitch. I'm trying to fix the fact that it's not coming live on Facebook, which is the first time. Is Mercury in retrograde right now?
Not yet.
Okay, because I don't know why it's not going. This is the very first time this has happened this way. So on my birthday, it's happening. So I'm trying to fix that. But you keep going.
Yay.
I'm listening.
It's on now. It's on. Okay.
It is on now. The Facebook is on now.
It looks like it is. Colette says it's live.
It is live. Okay, thank goodness. Let me fix it on the other one. But keep going, because I'm like this. I was born right before the new moon, is what you're saying. What does that mean?
Well, so when we're born at different points in the lunation cycle, those points represent different ways that our personality expresses itself. The moon is symbolic in astrology of our innermost self. It's our emotions, it's the subconscious, it's the aspect of ourselves that is the closest to us. And so you feel, so that just amplifies the Leo tendency for you in your chart. And the sun is really how we shine our light in the world. It's how we use our creative energy and what we feel led to creating in our lives. And so because you're born right before the new moon, that's what we call the balsamic moon phase. People who are born during that means you love Italian food and no, I'm joking.
I do.
It's the balsamic phase is right before a new cycle starts. And if you think about that, what happens for us before we start a new cycle is that we're going through a lot of letting go. We're going through a lot of, just sort of a creative process of deciding what we want to manifest in that new chapter, that new beginning. And so you carry with you your whole life this impulse to release, to clear, to purge, to help other people do that, and also to be in a creative flow, in a creative process, making things. I think your show is a perfect example of that. Helping others to shine their light. Leo is the sign of leadership. It's the sign of creative expression. It's actually the sign of play too. And not a lot of people know about this aspect of Leo. But if Leo people don't play, if you don't get enough rest and time, just like luxuriating, relaxing, doing nothing, then you can't really be in the creative flow that you were born to be in. And therefore, you're therefore all the other aspects of Leo, the superpower, the the charisma, all of that can't really express itself to the fullest. So Leos need like empty space and empty time on your calendar to just let a creative process happen.
Interesting. I have not heard that ever before. I'm really glad to hear that because I am a bit of a recovering workaholic. And about, I would say like a couple years or maybe even just a year before COVID, I remember waking up with the thought, I want to have more fun. And not that I love my work. I mean, I'm so blessed that it's really not work. I love my work. At the same time, I was realizing that I wasn't playing that much. And so I literally went online, Meetup had just started or whatever. And I said games. And I ended up going to the library that had games. They had a game afternoon and it was a bunch of like 6-year-olds. So next door in the library, they were playing the Pinochle. And I learned Pinochle and then I started playing Mahjong again. And in fact, today on my birthday, I'm going to play Mahjong at the Cypress Senior Center where I go play Taiwan style. And I try to do that. And tonight I get to race sailboats. So I put back, some of that. And also what you're saying about the downtime. Mm-hmm. I thought that I was 100% extrovert. And the older, even though I'm ageless, I like my downtime. Mm-hmm. And so I thought I thought it was because I was getting to that stage of, gray-haired ladies that wear turquoise and have cats, but that's not what happened. And so I'm grateful that you brought that up. So mm-hmm. I'm good. Mm-hmm. And Paulette's saying girls just want to have fun. And yes. If you're listening, I'm so sad that one of my Facebooks is not coming through. And there's so many people on Facebook that are wishing me happy birthday. So I'm going to go off camera for a second again, or I'm going to look down and you keep talking because I'm going to try to put the YouTube link on there. So what should I know? Okay, so going back, the thing that I was talking about earlier, I felt 800 pounds of shame lift off of me when you told me that I was a Leo in 5 planets, because up to that point, I was very ashamed as an Asian woman of, being who I am. And so thank you for that. If I haven't thanked you formally for that, it was a tremendously, impactful moment where I go, oh my God, that's why I am the way I am. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah. So yeah. So, but I do want you to speak to, because a lot of people think that horoscopes are something, the whole spectrum. Oh, it's just, fortune telling and it's really not real. And, or the other extreme, which is I can't do anything without my horoscope, right? I have to read it first. And then me that thinks that, as you mentioned in our first interview, I chose this day and time and place to come onto the planet and to do what I'm doing now. And so the way that the stars were aligned or the planets were aligned helped me with that. So speak to all of that and that'll give me a little time to figure out what's going on.
Okay, all right. I could fill the whole hour just talking about this question. So I think I'll just start with talking about astrology for people who don't know astrology. And what is the value of astrology? Well, I think you perfectly articulated how astrology can be helpful. And it's helpful because we can see ourselves within the context of what's happening in the world. And that's really great. We can see how we fit into the whole. Astrology is much more, it's funny. I think, it has this reputation of being just like fortune telling or just like, like other divination practices, meaning it gets categorized in the woo category. But astrology is actually the least woo of the woo modalities. It's the study of cycles. And in particular, it's the study of how those cycles, those planetary cycles that repeat themselves over and over and over again, how those cycles, it's really the study of how those planetary cycles relate to what's happening on Earth. And so we can look back over recorded history and see the times when certain cycles were at play and see similar themes that were taking place each time. So we can see times of like right now in this country, in the US, we're going through a similar phase that we were going through during the American Revolution. And so you can see similar themes of, the freedom of religion, themes of taxation without representation. You can see the way that history repeats itself, but it spirals up. So we have similar themes that are taking place during similar cycles. And we build upon each cycle. So really, it's, just in the way that a meteorologist studies a weather map or weather forecast and studies the way clouds come in and the way, all of those, like the relationship between humidity and the earth and all of those atmospheric conditions. Astrologers can look at a chart and see, well, here are the trends that are taking place right now, and here's what happened last time. So we can do this big picture. We can look at this for conditions in the world. We can look at this for countries, for states, for your own business, but you can also look at this for your personal life. And so that is one of the ways that astrology is useful, and it's useful in your everyday life. Now, I want to kind of comment on the people who use astrology for everything. And, astrology is like a weather map. If you see that it's going to be raining or that there's a cold front moving in, you might wear a jacket, you might carry an umbrella, but you're not going to stop your daily activities. In fact, if anything, you're going to be thankful that you know what's taking place out there, so that you can brave the elements. And that's really what astrology allows us to do. It says, okay, we're going through these cycles. Like for you, I'm gonna talk about your chart.
Please.
Because this is actually a really big year for you. There's a lot
coming up.
Yeah.
Coming up. Okay.
Yeah, and you're in it right now. Okay. So there are a couple of cycles that you're in, and they relate to the planet Uranus, which is like fast change, sudden movement. Like you gotta, it's a roller coaster ride of excitement, and it doesn't feel comfortable all the time. So you have that element going in at the same aspect in your chart, and you also have Saturn, which Saturn is like, where Uranus is electricity and fast. Saturn is slow and steady. It is like you're going to push against some resistance. So you have these two impulses happening at the same time. And so there's a lot of conscious growth and conscious evolution that's taking place in a really uncomfortable way. And what's interesting is that we started this conversation with you talking about play and talking about the things that you were doing for fun. And I think that that's actually like where to prioritize, where to focus, because things are going to change, and in probably a way that's all of a sudden, out of the blue. We say that with Uranus transits, it's expect the unexpected. And that is the theme for your whole year. And then also,
thank you for that. I don't know, because I'm going to bring someone on right now who was with me yesterday. She's my resident dream expert, and yesterday when we were on the air, I was like crying, and it was a very emotional session that I wasn't expecting. But please welcome to my studio, back to my studio, Julie Lore. And let me give both of you. I'm not sure if I gave you applause, Rachel. So let me do another one. Because I'm all about play, right? And I really appreciate Julie stood by, because I did not get Rachel's email last night, so I wasn't sure if I was going to have you. So I'm so grateful to Julie for saying, that's okay, I do astrology too, and I didn't know that. So, but the change you're talking about and the unexpected change, I think I got a feel of that yesterday. That whole feeling like, I really want to change some fundamental things about myself that I'm not necessarily happy with. But Julie, you can chime in. Were you surprised yesterday when I started getting emotional?
Yes, I was. Yes and no, because in a way, the irony of that is when we did the last show, you said to me, I'd rather go slower and deeper with people than just touch the surface. And so in a sense, you opened yourself for that experience and set an example powerfully for everyone else. So Rachel, I loved everything. It's so much fun to listen to another astrologer describe astrology. So I was able to just kind of look at the transits of what's happening in the sky. And I loved everything you said. But today, right now, because I wasn't sure, the moon is at 27 degrees of Capricorn conjunct Pluto in the sky. So this moment right now is powerfully transforming, because Marissa, you have in your birth chart Saturn at the late degrees of Capricorn and Jupiter at 0 Aquarius. So what's happening with that transit of Pluto and the moon is powerfully impacting you in the area of your career. And so the other thing I just wanted to say, to tag on to what Rachel said, Jupiter in the sky right now is at 8 degrees of Aries. And so it's moving into a trine, 120 degrees of all your Leo planets in your 5th house. It's like, wow, you're Leo off the charts. And that would have happened 12 years ago. Jupiter has a roughly 12-year cycle to go around the sun. So 2010, 11, what was happening then? Do you remember? Because that would have been the same cycle of Jupiter impacting all those.
2011, I believe, was the end of a very horrific, difficult divorce where I paid through my nose. I believe that was the year that it took 8 years from the time I bifurcated in 2005. So what's 8 plus 5? Well, maybe not. Maybe it was 2 years after I got sober. The kids were, let's see, Chloe was 97. So how old was she in 2011? 97. 14. Yeah. So high school. Yeah, we were going through some custody stuff. So yeah, it was not a pretty time.
But did it get better after that is the question, because with Jupiter moving 12 years ago into those trines, as it's doing now, it's like a creative explosion of energy.
Well, definitely I'm creative. I'm going through a creative, although that happens like every day. But yeah, I mean, you know, my bio brother is constantly telling me that I need to get a real job, and not my big brother Michael Bernard Beckwith, who saw the planets. He had a vision. Maybe you guys can speak to this. He looked into me and he saw a big chunk missing from my planet, and what was coming was not a patch, but something that was even bigger than the piece that was missing. So how does that relate to your understanding of what's going on in the planets? Rachel, how does that strike you?
Yeah, well, I think the way that it strikes me is, well, I think that we could talk about it just in your natal chart, and we could look at the way that, I mean, I kind of look at the way that your different planets relate to one another. But I'm actually going to skip ahead, because what I really want to talk about is this birthday and some of the transits that are happening with this birthday. And I think that this is actually and what's coming down the road later on in 2023. And I think maybe what that vision was that he saw was this time in your life, this time where there's a level of completion and a level of power that you're able to access that you haven't been before. And what's going to be happening for you in 2023 is that, and actually what's happening with you in your solar return chart, which is the chart for your birthday, it's like a whole new cycle, is that Jupiter is really strongly represented. Pluto is moving into Aquarius. This is something that's going to happen we're all going to feel this. This is going to be a big change. Pluto is a really slow moving planet. And so when it enters a new sign, we see huge shifts and big things are happening in the world. And we saw this when Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. It was the beginning of the Occupy Wall Street movement. It was the financial crash. And so now Pluto's moving into Aquarius, which all of us are going to experience as a shift in a lot of the power structures of our world. But for you, Pluto moves right over your Jupiter. So Jupiter being, what she said, the planet of opportunity, of abundance, of success, the planet of faith. And when Pluto and Jupiter come together, you have this unshakable faith. And it's a time of manifestation. So all of the things that you've been working toward and dreaming about and holding space for in your life, all of those things can reach fruition. And it's also a time of peak visibility because of where Jupiter's placed in your chart, up at the top of your chart, which is the most visible point in the chart. And so I look at this and think, oh, okay, yeah. His vision, I think, is like it's been a long time coming, and it's finally here. So don't listen to your bio brother. Don't do that day job.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have 5 jobs now, where not just the show, but beat reporting, still doing happiness coaching, still motivational speaking coming up again, organization development consulting as a psychologist. Actually there's maybe more, 6, the writing and all of that, and my name brand is bigger than it has ever been, which I'm really grateful for, because I'm known for happiness and good things, not bad things. As well, my first TikTok video hit 198,000 and not 198.8 thousand views. My YouTube hit 268,000 views. The social media, people recognize me now. So for good things, you got to be careful about being recognized. When I interviewed Carol Baskin, she said that she had put in her vision board that she wanted to be a household name, and then she did, but not for a good thing. So I'm very careful now that I'm known for good things, and I don't want to miss that intention. But yeah, it does feel, and it's funny because people say all the time, what's next? What's next? What's your next book? What do you want to do next? And honestly, I've done and been and have more than I could have ever imagined. And I'm grateful for it. And I don't believe, like, I'm satisfied with what is. I'm always going to want, more, in the sense that it's always growth and expansion, Abraham Hicks. But I do get that feeling, that little feeling that it is that I'm on the precipice, and trying not to, and not wanting to say, where is it? How come it's not here? Why is it still taking so long? Da, da, da. And I'm, most of the time, like 88% of the time, I'm very satisfied. Is that bad? Should I have a more, I need to do this, I need to do that, or, people criticize me all the time. You need a team. You can't do everything by yourself. The solopreneur, you could be so much bigger if you had, a team. And I keep saying, I'm really, pretty happy with the balance in my life. If I had a team and had these, I've not been, and do not want to be, I'm going to hit 1 million by da da da. I'm going to hit da 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 da. For me, that doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel happy. It feels like, that negative energy of I'm gonna make you buy this. I hate selling, and people will laugh right now because they're like, oh my God, really? You are a master seller, master PR, master whatever. And I'm like, I do the marketing and I do the sales, and I'm trying to raise money for my nonprofit because that's all the money goes to now. But I don't like it. I would love someone to step in and say, you know what? I believe in you. I believe in your mission, your happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. Here, let me organize and brand, take over your brand, and you just come in as talent and do your thing. I would love that. It almost happened. Maybe that was 2011. With the diverse channel that offered me like $350,000 a year with a $5 million budget to produce 12 shows for a pilot, around, the Asian side. Nick Cannon was the Black host. I was going to be the Asian host, and there was a Latin female. And then it fell through. And that was the only time where I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I want. And this is going to be fabulous. And we were at the lawyers, writing up verbiage, and then the funding fell away. Mm-hmm. So that's my only time where I was excited about something that didn't come through. So in reflection to what you're saying, it has gone from that potential to, this grassroots. I grow by every week, and now I got promoted during COVID now to every day. So I have a nice Nielsen number, apparently, 160,000 listeners every 15 minutes. And how much of that is true, I don't know, but I do know that I just continue to do what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing. So
love that
to what you're saying.
Yeah. And actually, if I could just piggyback on that, because you're bringing up such a good point for every one of for everyone who's listening. And that is, we talked about Pluto moving into Aquarius. There is a whole paradigm shift that's taking place. I wrote a book called Modern Day Magic, 8 Simple Rules to Realize Your Power and Shape Your Life. And it's all about how do we work with energy? And how do we reclaim that spiritual power? So, since patriarchy started, we've had this model of progress and of success and of manifestation that's been all about sales and, sales funnels and, all of these things that really is it's contrary to a lot of our nature. I mean, our nature is actually to flow with, to think about, to be a part of the forces of nature, to what's happening culturally, to what's happening in our families, in our lives. And so in my book, I talk about how when we want something, we want to manifest something. And magic isn't about manifestation, but that's one of the ways that it can be used is for creating things in our lives. But when we want something, there's part activity. So I talk about that in terms of like doing your vision board. That's an activity. Setting your intentions. That's an action. Saying, I want this. And sometimes the steps that go along with that, like, creating a website and things like that. And then it's part receptivity, where you relax, where you really tune into your own awareness and what feels right to you. And then it's also, receptivity means that you receive, means that you allow people to come in and say, hey, I want to offer you this opportunity, or hey, I've been thinking about you, and why don't we do this? And maybe I can help you with this. And that's the place for gratitude and for us to be in constant awe, feeling that we are not alone in this, because you're not. Now you're a unique one, because you've got Aries Rising. That Aries Rising is a go-getter rising. It's like you were born to be a solo entrepreneur and to be like seeing a need in the world and going for it. That's part of your chart. But going back to Leo and going back to all those Leo planets you have, you're meant to be the queen in that. So not to be the knight who's out there fighting the battles, but you're meant to be the one who says, I want this, and then see who shows up to support.
Okay. Although I had a visceral reaction, because some of the most horrific encounters I've had is with people who say, I want to help you. And I've had one even say, I want to help you for free. And then $25,000 later, I got out of the contract with only having to pay her $5,000, but it was just a horrific experience. And that keeps me from hiring people for sure. And I also just pulled from a deck. Karen Stuth has been wonderful that Julie introduced me to. She also brought me another guest, Catherine Skaggs, and I know Julie's a friend of Catherine as well. And she gave me this deck, and I just pulled messages. So obviously I'm supposed to be listening to this stuff that I don't necessarily agree with, but I am, and I'm going to bring Julie back on again.
Yeah. I want to hear what Julie has to say.
Because I absolutely believe that we've moved from this field of dreams, which is what I believe in. If you build it, they will come. I just need to follow my creativity and write stuff when I'm told to write, and publish stuff when I'm told to publish, and do the show when I'm told to, woken up at 4:30 in the morning and told radio, and just do it, 9 years later. And this, we've switched, and especially in self-development, I get like creepy crawlies with the amount of that sales funnel, and you have to do this way, and the YouTube SEO, and that we're like driven by things that are so contrary to the field of dreams. And I can remember a dear friend and past guest, I won't name his name, he called and he said, you have to get, this is a once in a opportunity. She's an influencer. You have to if you give her 5,000, she's going to, put you on her map, and then you're going to get more followers. And it's like, I purposely, I've been offered, followers, and it would be so easy to pay or, do these tricks to get 50,000, 100,000, because people will, say to me, I can't get you this guest because, you don't have enough numbers. And it's like, well, then I really don't want that guest because that's not me and that's not my show. And at the same time, do I look at the numbers? Do I celebrate the numbers? The fact that, I made it to number 7 on the charts of that I'm number one show in all those things. Do they matter? Yes, they matter. But the road to that is just, yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I think that we're being led by the nose to an erroneous and um, um, bad feeling way of being on the planet. Because if we're each one of us one of a kind, wonderful, and even unique, and have unique gifts, talents, and abilities, why do we have to go that route? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't experts in the world that, and when they come across my path and I learn something new that I don't want to invest, I don't fix my own car, I'm not a mechanic. I think there's a balance there. I think that, there are people that can help you do what you're doing, myself included. If you're blocked by some unhappiness, I can help you. If you're one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma, I can help you, because that's why I went through it. And if you want to understand the way the planets are influencing you in a way that you've never looked at before, then Rachel Lang and Julie Lohr are for you. If you want to have your dreams interpreted, Julie Lohr is for you. If you want to look at your life and the role of your inner holistic masters or spiritual guides and all of that, then Catherine Skaggs is for you. If you want to go beyond your actor as Potsy Anson Williams and now go and be go for mayor in Ojai, then do that. And Rachel just told me that she's actually
yes. In the same city. I know. What are the odds of that? When I saw him on your opening segment, I was like, this is too much of a synchronicity here. Isn't that wild?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is wild. He's been on my show several times. I've had almost the entire cast of Happy Days, which makes sense because it's a show about happiness.
Exactly.
On the show. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Who would have known? I've gotten to interview and talk to and sit down with and red carpet with so many amazing people that in a million years would I have known that this was going to happen? No. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to add one thing and to pick up on what you've said, Marissa, and what Rachel said, because I think it's important for all of us to remember. What's so interesting to me is that quantum physics and metaphysics are now, in a sense, marrying and using the same language. And we're learning that literally every proton in the universe is connected to every other. And somebody said recently, all reality is virtual, but we get focused on what we think of as this 3D world as if this is it. And we're so much more. We live in eternity. And when we come into this incarnation, we've chosen this vehicle, as Rachel was talking about, and you mentioned as well, Marissa. And it's like an instrument. And some people choose something that has the potential to be a Stradivarius violin, and other people make a choice of a life that's much more different to learn a very different lesson. And so you chose an instrument of great power and something that can be of use to many people in the world through your own lessons and through setting an example of what it means to examine your strength and to express your strength. You've got the instrument to do that. And I think so many of us, Rachel was speaking about the patriarchy, and boy, we'll be glad when that's in the rearview mirror, not more. But I think for women need examples of other powerful women and of courage to move out into the world and to show what feminine power is like. And so that's part of what you do and what's important. And boy, you have the chart to do it. And I love that Rachel mentioned about Pluto moving into Aquarius. That's going to be a big thing. But for you, those planets, Pluto is already touching your planets in your house and connecting with that. So fasten your seatbelt, Marissa. I think that you're about to go into even higher gear. But you know what? What I see, and I'm sure Rachel would say the same thing, you're doing it at a deeper, more wise level because of your own experiences and moving into it now. Maybe 12 years ago when Jupiter made these connections, you weren't ready, and that's why that venture failed. You weren't ready.
Okay.
You know, I'm speculating, but maybe you weren't ready for that kind of success. Now it's happening again, and probably you are. And so the experience could be really different this time. Rachel, would you agree?
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. You're yes. I when she was when you were talking, Marissa, about about the times when oh, that's the universe calling, and they're agreeing.
Tell him it's my birthday.
Yes, exactly. When you were talking about the times in the past where you've been deceived, my first thought was, that was just the preview. Like now you'll never get into that situation again. And so, I think with the limitations that we face in our lives, we always have the choice of I think every challenge that we experience all leads us to our North Node path. And your North Node path is the path of Leo. So leadership, power, and you won't make the same mistake twice. That was a preview of that allowed you to learn how to trust yourself and how to really fine tune your own inner guidance when you get into those situations. So that doesn't have to happen again. You already learned those lessons. Okay. And a lot of times we can look at our charts and we can see during times when we want to be really careful with who we trust. During Neptune transits, for example, wouldn't you agree, Julie? Yeah. Neptune transits are a time when, we see the best in people. Sometimes overlooking, like with rose-colored glasses, overlooking those red flags. And during those times, we're going to make decisions that accordingly. Mm-hmm. And so I would almost put money on the fact that you probably were going through one of those transits at that time. But we can't look at that and say this is the lifelong condition, because you're in a whole new place right now where you are being sort of gifted with new opportunities and new possibilities. And so it's a time to kind of expand into that by allowing other people in.
So I want to balance out something that happened when I was emoting. Oh, first of all, thank you, Colette. She's been a wonderful chat in the chat. And she is actually going to be my regular Monday co-host every other Monday. So coming up this coming Monday, tune in to talk with Colette and I. She's an expert on aging, women, and sensuality. So it's aligned with the topics that we're talking about. So one of the things that I brought up with Julie was I wanted to set an intention about coming more from love. And I know that I admitted that I have a very low threshold for people who criticize me or don't and for no reason. I mean, if you criticize me for a reason, that's one thing, or if I have a negative or I have a feeling about them that reminds me of something that was negative. And so then, it's like, I love you, I don't like you. I love you. God bless you. And I'm going to love you from afar. Right. And the downside of that is, it's this, just I have my 5-finger support, and then the rest is, and I know that that's not healthy, fully healthy. Is that part of my Leo that's doing that? What planet is that? Or is that something that maybe is reflective of that childhood trauma? But I want to balance out without backpedaling, Julie, is that I don't want to get to the point where I'm trusting everybody so fully that I get into that situation again. Or is there room for a balance in coming from a heart of love and yet having some discernment? At what point do we? But if we're spiritual beings, then we've got the power of, I call him my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every morning when I pray and meditate. Then there's really nothing to be afraid of. And there's really nobody that can hurt me, but it's the human side of me that gets hurt. So that may be a whole nother show. But I thought, in the last 5 minutes, it is my birthday, and I know there's a reason that we didn't get hooked into Facebook today, and I can't wait to see what good comes out of that, because I was really hoping for lots of birthday wishes that I put on the screen. But anyways, 1 minute comment from both of you, and then we'll close out.
Julia, go ahead.
Rachel,
Yeah.
and to say, when I wrote my last book, I had all these experiences about understanding what I call the anatomy of the psyche, that our permanent reality exists in eternity, and we often call it the soul or higher self or whatever it is. That's the part of us that is projecting into incarnation to gather experiences, and that's the part that is the container of all of our experiences. So ancient wisdom traditions, to answer your question, teach that over time, our personality, the part of us that lives in space-time, finally awakens. It's like Groundhog Day, where it took Phil Colin Connor's character 10 years to figure out that it was his own choices causing the problem. So the answer is more discernment, more universal knowledge and wisdom, and knowing that you're coming from the place of true wisdom. So Rachel.
All right, that was good. That was good. Yeah, everything she said, and I'll also just follow up on the fact that the world that we are changing, that everything, that all the ways that we've experienced power, that we've experienced government, that we've experienced economy, all of it is really opening, expanding, and shifting. So the whole world is going through a consciousness shift. So a lot of the traumas that we experience and a lot of the pain that we go through in our lives, we don't reach enlightenment through everything just being easy, and we experience enlightenment by going through suffering, learning everything we can learn, healing, and then saying, how can I be of service? And that's what your whole life represents. And the more of us who do that, who wake up to moving from pain and suffering to healing to service, the more we're participating in a shift that's taking place all over. And so, all of us who have trauma, who have, childhood trauma or trauma in our lives, we are the new earth. And anyone listening to your show is a part of that, because obviously they're going to be more awakened just because they're on a similar path. Mm-hmm. So anyone listening is a part of what we create. We really need to be in a visioning period right now, looking at what's ahead. That's why I'm running for city council, actually. So
awesome.
Yeah.
You see under their beautiful faces, their websites. I don't want you to miss out if you want more from either one of my beautiful astrologers today for my birthday. RachelLang.com or RachelLangAstrologer.com, JulieLure.com. They both have wonderful books. I am so blessed and grateful to celebrate my birthday on the air with you. If you have one, oh no, we don't have time. Everybody put your fingers up, please. It's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Mercer reporting live from her living room during the pandemic with a beautiful cast of Julie and Rachel. Thank you so much. I want you to have the best day on my birthday ever. We'll see you tomorrow with co-host Sam Works. Love you all.